Paul, some very smart physicists who are also believers and theologians wrestle with the idea of how could God interact with the world and posit bottoms up from the quantum level or tops down from the consciousness level. How do you look at it?
I've always had a problem about a God who is a miracle-working super being, like a cosmic magician. I will often say that there are no miracles except the miracle of nature itself. And so for me, if I use the word God, which I'm always very careful about because it carries so many different meanings to different people, it is in terms of the meaningfulness of the whole package, not in terms of a being who's sort of meddling from time to time. But I realize that many people, including some scientists, would like the idea of a God who intervenes in history actively, a person or a super person who is involved in the day-to-day affairs of the world through prayer, through working the occasional miracles or something. Now, that, to me, speaking as a scientist, that's really pretty horrible, the idea of this God sort of intervening from time to time, and I wouldn't want that. And so people have tried to find ways of getting around that. There's a nice analogy here, because the old problem of the mind and the body, you see, how do I make things happen in the world? Well, I move objects around and so on in accordance with my wishes, and that's a bit of a mystery too. So maybe God can act in the world in a way that is no more mysterious than a human being acting in the world. So if there is a way in which mind and matter can get along together without breaking any laws, well, that's one way for God to do it. So that's a sort of cheap way out. Perhaps. Now, the crude way is just getting God to overrule the laws of physics, intervene and break those same laws. A more subtle way is to have the laws providing gaps, loopholes in which God could gain causal purchase. Now, supposing I were an omnipotent being, and you said, well, you could have any sort of universe you want, and I think, well, that's nice, I'll have a universe like this, I'd like some planets in there, and I'd like some ocean, and I wave a wand, there's the ocean, and let's have some living beings. Oh no, that's not quite right, rub those out, start again. Dead easy. If I'm omnipotent, I can just conjure it all into being. I couldn't respect such an omnipotent being because there's nothing clever about doing that. But now imagine the challenge is this. What I'm told is I've got to come up with some deep mathematical principles, something of that sort, and I've got to let it go, and I've got to let the universe generate its own life, its own self-awareness, and let the whole thing self-organize, self-complexify. And I'm not allowed to meddle and tinker and just make things happen just by fiat. That's much, much harder. That, to me, looks really deeply ingenious. Whereas a cosmic magician looks to me like just a magician, just a conjurer. So I can't have much respect for such a being.